Happy Tuesday!
My name is Alan.
My name's Nick.
And welcome
Into the dungeon.
The brothers wait with bated breath as a line of haggard men file past their barely concealed hiding place. An escort of bandit warriors urge them forward, beating any who falter or step out of the line. Then each man is forced to take hold of a wagon and push it back along the tunnel. Soon they have all disappeared from view. The brothers wait, and when they are sure that the coast is clear, they step back into the tunnel and press on, taking care to keep well in the shadows. They finally reach a point where the tunnel emerges into daylight. To their left, a dense copse has been cut back from the entrance, and the wagon tracks lead to a timber gantry above a mound of ore. The men and the guards who passed you are now at the gantry, but they fail to see the brothers sprint from the entrance and dive into the trees. A brief pause for breath is all they allow themselves before setting off through the trees towards Ruanon.
Looks like Torin made the right choice then.
I wonder what would have happened, because they did do what you thought. They pushed the wagons to the exit.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they would have spotted us as they did.
Who knows? We've got no option here but to turn to section 200. The trees are alive with bandit patrols, but the brothers' quick wits and Kai skills prevent them from being seen by them. Eventually they reach the edge of the copse. They find themselves staring out across an expanse of open plain towards Ruanon. The sight that lies before them is very disquieting. Much of the mining town has been burnt to the ground. The blackened ruins of what once were shops, cottages and taverns are now little more than the smouldering mounds of charcoal. The lone wolves are beginning to fear the worst, that Ruanon has been totally destroyed, when a gentle breeze clears the haze of wood smoke hanging like a grey curtain over the ruins. Inside the perimeter of ruined buildings, a barricade has been thrown up around a tower of stone. Above the tower, a tattered flag still flies, bringing renewed hope. It is the sun flag of Summerland, edged with a band of white braid, the cavalry standard of the King's Guard regiment. The sudden crack of a twig makes the brothers freeze. They glance behind them to see 3 bandits creeping through the trees towards them. The wide steel tips of their spears glint. They seem to be coated with a clear, sticky fluid. We've got 3 options here, although we have to take one of them, because it says if we possess the Kai discipline of hunting, or if we have ever visited the Gorn Cove, which we haven't, but we do have the Kai discipline of hunting, we turn to section 45, so the other 2 options are moot. So that would have been to fight the bandits, or to try and evade them. So we have to turn to section 45. Torin, that's Nadan sap dripping from their spears. It's deadly. Under no circumstance should we engage. Even the merest graze from one of those tainted weapons will be fatal. On the count of 3, let's race through the trees. We head towards Ruanon.
1, 2, 3, run!
There's no option here but to turn to section 307.
From all along the forest edge, groups of bandits emerge from the trees, whipped and scolded by the bullying sergeants for allowing the brothers to escape. This spurs the long wolves to quicken their pace, and they cover the first 100 yards with ease. Then arrows begin to fall around them. They duck and weave, making themselves a difficult target for the archers, and gradually the falling shafts dwindle in number. The brothers smile at the bandits' futile attempts to stop them, but their confidence is soon shaken by a pack of snarling warhounds breaking out of the woods to their right. They are off the leash and hungry for blood. The brothers are less than 500 yards from Ruanon, but the warhounds are closing in. We have 2 options here. If we wish to quicken our pace and try to outrun them, we turn to 225. If we wish to stop and fight them, we turn to 36.
Keep your head down, Torin. Let's quicken the pace. 500 yards left. That poison will kill us.
You think we can outrun warhounds?
There's only one way to find out. Hopefully we'll get close enough that the survivors there will see us and return fire.
No more talking then! Let's run!
We're turning to section 225. We could have stopped to fight them by turning to section 36, but 225 it is. The brothers try to ignore the raking legs and the fear that knots their stomach by forcing their concentration on the sun flag, a fluttering symbol of hope in the distance. Their faces are streaked with sweat, and their lungs feel as if they will burst, but they dare not slacken the pace. The thought of the warhound fangs closing and tugging on their skin is all they need to drive them forward. At 400 yards, they can see that the barricade and watchtower are inhabited, but at this distance the faces that they can see are only a line of small pink dots on the walls. At 300 yards, the brothers run into gruesome remains where the corpses of bandits lie twisted on the floor, most killed by arrows. Many have lain in the open for weeks. A flock of startled carrion crows rise shrieking from their feast as the lone wolves race for the bodies, and they turn away in disgust. Suddenly, a new sound drifts across the plain. The sound of cheering. The beleaguered defenders have spotted the lone wolves and recognize their green Kai cloaks. 200 yards to go now. The brothers have just passed the ruins of a burnt-out cottage where they feel an agonizing pain tearing through their thighs. 200 yards to go. The brothers have just passed the ruins of a burnt-out cottage when Lander suddenly feels an agonizing pain tearing through his left thigh. An arrow has pierced his leg, and he pitches forward into the mud and ash. Crouched in the ruined cottage, a bandit sniper raises his bow and takes careful aim at the brothers' heads. We need to pick a number from the random number table. Oh dear.
Whoa. If it's 1 to 5, we turn to 20. If it's a 6 to 9, to 300. And if it's a big old goose egg, 181.
Now, is the goose egg going to be good? And like it's going to miss? Or because it's one result only, is it like an insta-death thing here?
Not sure. Last time we rolled the 0 and it was bad, I believe.
Yeah.
So we'll roll and the highest roll decides?
Yeah, unless we both roll the same bracket.
Yeah.
Here we go, first roll of the episode. Lander has rolled a 4.
And Torin an 8. So it is I that will roll again and decide what bracket we go for and what section we turn to. That's another 8. So we now turn to section 300. A scream of pain and terror fills the air. The sniper crashes to the ground as the jaws of a warhound clamp tightly around his neck. Other hounds are drawn by his ghastly screams, and he is soon ripped to pieces. The brothers look up to see a man running towards them from the barricade. He has his shield in one hand and a longbow in the other. It is Captain Duval. He reaches the brothers, breathless from his run, and draws an arrow from his quiver. The warhounds, tired of their victim, are in search of a fresh sport and are turning their attentions on the brothers. Duval aims and fires, drawing another arrow as soon as his bow is empty. Warhounds tumble and crash to the ground around the brothers, felled by Duval's deadly shafts. The captain grabs Lander by the arm and swings him over the shoulder in one swift movement. He signals to Toring to follow him as he carries Lander back to the barricade. Others run forward to help him, but the bandit archers are now in range and the men are forced back by a hail of arrows. The red shafts whistle past on all sides. Finally, the brothers reach the barricade. A wagon is pulled aside and they enter through the open gap. Captain Duval is close to exhaustion. He staggers and his men rush to catch him before he drops Lander to the ground. We are given no option but to turn to section 341.
A circle of unshaven faces are staring down at the brothers. A soldier cradles Lander's leg as another snaps a shaft deeply buried in his thigh. But before Lander can even cry out in pain, he has drawn the arrow from his leg with one swift tug.
You're very lucky, Kylord,
he says as he bandages a handful of lamb spur to his aching limb.
The wound is clean, and bleeding is but slight.
Lander has lost 4 endurance points, but the soldier's quick thinking and skill has saved his leg from infection. With great care, the soldiers carry both Lander and Captain Duval into the stone watchtower, beckoning Torin to follow. No options here but to turn to section 116. I need to remove 4 endurance points, but recover 1 because this has been a section without a fight.
I was hoping the king would send a large search party,
says Captain Duval wryly, now having fully recovered from his exhaustion.
I was beginning to tire of this town.
Lander rises from his straw bed and offers his thanks to the captain. His brave and timely action saved both him and his brother from certain death.
There's nothing to compare with you, LoneWolf. Your bravery is legend. Your presence here, with more than 100 men.
He asks the brothers about their mission, and they recount the events that led them to this meeting. The ride south, the loss of their company, their passage through the Macken mines, and the bandits.
We, the bandits, Baraka's men.
Duval's voice conveying his contempt for them and the leader.
It seems that we have both suffered at his hand. A month ago, he and the Vatsagonian renegades ambushed my troop on the Ruanon pike. We were sorely outnumbered, and the fight was indeed bitter. But we broke free from them and escaped here to Ruanon. We've been beleaguered ever since and praying for help to arrive. We have enough weapons to resist them, but we have barely enough food and water to survive.
Landa asked what has become of the people of Ruanon.
Aye, most are now slaves. Baraka has taken the mines, and he uses the Ruanese as forced labor. Other than yourself, only one man has escaped from the mines, and has survived the warhounds and the bandit snipers. That man is Baron Oren Vanelond. Come now, I shall take you to him.
Duval leads the brothers to the topmost chamber of the watchtower and pushes open an iron-shod door. The sight that greets the brothers fills their heart with sorrow and pity.
No option here. We've got to turn to section 318, and Lando recovers 1 point of endurance.
Oren Vaneland is a 15th Baron of Ruanon, a noble warrior of royal lineage, and 5th in succession to the throne of the Sommerland. This once proud and chivalrous warlord now lies upon the cold stone floor of the chamber, red-eyed and whimpering like a frightened dog.
He has lost everything.
Says Duval quietly.
Baraka has destroyed his castle, his land, his town, and his family. His sons are dead, and his only daughter been taken captive by Baraka himself. I fear that the ordeal has turned his mind.
The pathetic man rises his tear-stained face, and with feeble voice mutters a curious rhyme over and over again.
When the fair baby royal maid on the altar dies, the dead of Mackengor shall rise. When a fair royal maiden maid on the altar dies, the dead of Mackengor shall rise. When the fair maid royal on the altar dies, the dead shall rise. When a fair royal maid on the altar dies, the dead of Mackengor shall rise. When the fair maid...
Lander!
Yes, Soren.
I recognize that rhyme. The scroll I got.
You make sense of that gibberish?
Yes. When a fair royal maid on the altar dies, the dead of Mackengorge shall rise is part of the rhyme that I found on the scroll.
Oh, that old man.
Yes. Everything is linked somehow.
If we possess a scroll, we turn to section 279.
Which we do.
Ooh, if we did not, it would have been 57.
As Turing unfurls the scroll and begins to read its ominous contents, the Baron struggles to his feet. Word for word, he echoes their prophetic verse.
When the full moon shines over the temple deep,
When the full moon shines over Temple Deep,
a sacrifice will stir from sleep.
yes, a sacrifice will stir from sleep.
The legions of a long-forgotten lord.
The legions of that long-forgotten lord.
When a fair royal maid on the altar dies,
When a fair royal maid on the altar dies,
the dead of Mackengorge shall rise
oh, the dead of Mackengor shall rise
to claim their long-awaited reward.
to claim the long-awaited reward. You must save a LoneWolf. You must prevent the sacrifice.
Save who? Who must they save?
Questions Captain Duval as he tries to calm down the distressed Baron.
My daughter, Madelon, Baraka's found the dagger of the Vashna. He plans to sacrifice my daughter upon the altar of the Macken to release the undead of the Mackengorge. During the age of the Black Moon, King Ruanon of Summerland killed the mightiest of all the Dark Lords, Vashna. He did this with a Summersword, the sword of the sun. His body and the bodies of all his soldiers were hurled into the bottomless abyss of the Mackengorge. He plans to lead the dead to victory, first to capture the Summerland, and then all of the last lands.
The brothers stare at the Baron in stunned silence. If Baraka completes the sacrifice, all is lost. What mortal army can stand against the Legion of the Dead? Captain Duval ushers the brothers from the chamber and closes the door.
I feared he was insane, but your scroll confirms my worst nightmare. He speaks the truth!
As the dreadful significance of the verse begins to sink in, the brothers' thoughts are broken by the shrill blast of a war horn. Captain Duval strides over to a narrow slit and peers out across the plain. As he turns to speak, the brothers notice that his face is ashen grey.
The bandits! They're launching an attack!
If we possess Captain Daval's sword, we turn to section 327, and if we do not possess it, we then turn to section 289. We do not possess the sword.
We do not, but we have the Summersword! That must count for something, surely. Apparently not in this section. 289 it is. I need to recover 2 points of endurance for Lander from the last 2 sections. So Lander's just 1 point shy of full health now.
The brothers follow Captain Daval as he hurries down the broad watchtower steps and out to the barricade. A rolling sound like distant thunder fills the air. Cavalry are pouring onto the plain from all sides, grouping up into battalions in preparation for the advance. Columns of foot soldiers in bright scarlet armor march through their ranks, herding a frightened wall of people before them.
The Ruanis!
Cries Captain Daval, his hand shield in the light from his eyes.
That Gur Baraka! He's using them as a shield!
All around the brothers, the captain's men have drawn their bowstrings, awaiting his signal to fire. But it is an order he dare not give. Suddenly, a hidden catapult hurls a massive black rock through the air, straight towards the barricade. Everyone stares in horror as it bursts into flame and disintegrates, showering a rain of blazing oil on everyone beneath. The soldiers cannot evade the deluge, and many are badly burnt before the flames are smothered. A battle cry resounds from the enemy ranks, the signal to attack. The Ruanese are pushed aside and trampled by the onrush of Scarlet Warriors who now race towards the barricade. The blazing oil has scattered Daval's men, and the barricade is poorly defended. The brothers hear Daval shout their names. His cloak and tunic are ablaze, and he is screaming for their help.
Help me, Mecha Lords! I'm burning!
We've got 3 options here, although we must take the first one, because it says if we have reached the Kai rank of Warnman, which we have, we turn to 255. Otherwise, we could have helped the captain by turning to section 5, or tried to rally the defenders and turn to section 86, but we must turn to 255. The brothers must rally the defenders or all is lost. Okay, so we're leaving Captain Daval to burn. Alrighty. Torin orders 2 of the soldiers to help the captain, and then leap onto an overturned wagon in order to see clearly the enemy advance. They already reached the ruined perimeter of Ruanon, and are now creeping forward under the cover of broken cottage walls. Torin shouts orders to Daval's men to defend the barricade, but the enemy are less than 100 yards from the wall. The brothers are now afraid that it might be too late to repel their attack. No choice here but to turn to section 186, and thankfully, Lando will now be at full health. The Vasagonian bandits break cover and charge, and Torin gives the order to fire. A cloud of arrows sweep down upon the armor-clad men, the hardened tips penetrating their scarlet plate. The first wave of assailants tumbles and falls. The second wave falters. Another volley forces them back, and they retreat to the ruins to reorganize themselves. Here and there, groups of banded warriors have survived the hail of death and have reached the barricade. Most are slain as they try to enter, but a small and determined section of their boldest fighters have broken through close to where the brothers stand. Suddenly, a thick-bodied warrior with oily black hair tied in a knot at the back of his scarred head leaps onto the wagon and attacks the brothers. This is a Vasagonian warrior with a combat skill of 18 and 50 endurance points. We can choose to evade combat at any time by jumping from the wagon and turning to section 66, or we stand and fight by turning to section 243. We win.
I think we need to stand and fight, because if we leave this guy to run amok inside here, he might kill the rest of the soldiers.
100%. We've got to kill this bastard.
So we turn to section 243 if we win.
Yeah, so we're going to just update our action charts and log the battle, and we will start rolling very soon. So Torin has a combat ratio of +3, and Lando has a combat ratio of +4. I'm going to say that because Torin was the one looking out over the battlefield, he should be the first to strike.
Sounds good to me, let's go. Starting off fairly strongly, I rolled an 8. So now if we go to the combat ratio chart, we can see that Torin has dealt 12 points of damage as he's able to parry the oncoming attack of the Vasagonian warrior with a quick riposte, as swift as lightning. The sword finds the smallest chink in the Vasagonian's armor, driving deep and opening a heavy wound. The Vasagonian steps back, caught by surprise. Torin takes 0 endurance points of damage. Very good roll indeed.
Yeah, he's down to 38 points of endurance now. It's now over to Lander. Oh, not too good. It's a 5. Halfway up.
Halfway there, it's not too bad either.
Lander deals 9 points of damage, but takes 2 endurance points in exchange. With a deft twist, Lander turns aside the enemy's first blow, and then strikes back with a swift thrust that finds its mark. However, as the blade pierces into the Vasagonian's armor, he strikes Lander square on the nose with a headbutt, dealing 2 points of damage.
It's over to Thorin, that doubles up on the Vasagonian to try and kill him. Ooh, not as good as before. It's a 6 on the random number roller thing, which means that Thorin uses Lander's distraction to strike at the enemy, his sword arcing through the air, its edge biting deep into the Vasagonian's side. The warrior steps back, almost anticipating his blow, and manages to punch Thorin across the face, dealing him with a total of 2 endurance points. Thorin dealt 10, so the warrior's down to 19 endurance points now.
Thorin himself is down to 24 of 26. He's looking good still. It's back to Lander.
Ooh, dropping.
It hovered on a 7 for a bit, but it's a 4. This time Lander only manages to deal 8 points of damage, and again takes 2 in exchange. Lander's eyes narrow, having seen Thorin's attack, and with a single precise thrust, the sword finds its target, with the blade sinking deep into the enemy's chest. But as he withdraws his sword, the Vasagonian warrior slices down with his blade. Lander manages to sidestep, but not before the weapon grazes his shoulder, opening a flesh wound. Lander's down to 31 out of 35, and the Vasagonian warrior is down to just 11.
We've almost got him now. One good roll and he's dead. Come on.
Come on, Thorin.
Oh, not too good. It's a 5, which means Thorin deals 9 damage, but takes 2 in return. As he lunges forwards towards the Vasagonian, his blade gleaming as a beacon as it sweeps down. A powerful strike cleaves through the warrior's defenses, making him stagger back. Still resolute, the warrior counterattacks, slashing at Thorin, catching him across the chest as Thorin winces in pain.
Thorin is down to 22 out of 26, and the Vasagonian warrior is down to his last 2 endurance points.
He's bleeding.
This should be it now, I hope.
Yeah, he's dizzy. He's in his last breath now.
That's a 5 again, so the same result. Lander takes 2 points of damage. The warrior senses that his time is almost up. He's bleeding profusely all over the ground. His breath is heavy, his arm weak, as he starts to flail around wildly, his blade catching Lander on the same thigh that he had taken an arrow to. Lander shrieks out in pain, but spins his summersword around in a tight circle, gathering momentum like a storm's fury, before crashing through the Vasagonian warrior's feeble defenses now, shattering his blade like glass as the sword carries through on its momentum, finding its mark across his neck, and leaving him on the floor, gurgling blood.
We did it, Lander! It's probably the first of many, but it's a good start.
That it is. Brace yourself.
We now turn to section 243.
Deval runs past the wagon, leading a dozen of his best swordsmen in a countercharge and driving the enemy all the way back to the barricade. None escape alive. Those who survive Deval's swordsmen are cut down on the plain by his archers as they run towards the ruins. The shout of victory has barely died away before the brothers are faced by a new threat. No option here but to turn to section 124, but both Lander and Thorin recover 1 point of endurance. Lander's back up to 30, and Thorin is back up to 23. A mantlet, a large shield on wheels, is being pushed slowly across the body-strewn battleground towards the barricade. Arrow shafts soon bristle from its thick wooden planks as Deval's men fire their bows time and time again in an attempt to hit the shielded foe. Suddenly, a robed figure darts from behind the mantlet and levels a black staff at the barricade. He is cut down by an arrow, but not before he has let loose from his staff a guttering ball of flame. It cartwheels across the plain and explodes with a tremendous roar, hurtling the bodies of defenders and shattered barricade high into the air, through the cloud of dust and debris. The brothers can see a line of enemy cavalry charging across the plain. They wear tall, plumed helmets of polished steel and breastplates of deepest crimson. In the wake of the fireball, they pour through the remains of the barricade and attack. They give no quarter. A horseman spurs his horse towards the brothers, his lance leveled at Torrin's chest. We've got two options here. We either stand and fight the horseman, or we run back to the watchtower.
I don't know. The horseman has a
lance. I don't think we've got a chance here.
Yeah, a lance against a foot soldier doesn't normally work out well. So I'm thinking just to run back to the watchtower.
Yeah, I agree.
Torrin, let's make a run for it.
As Lando reaches out to grab Torrin by the chest and tries to spin him around.
Let's go!
Section 107 it is, and we both recover a endurance point.
The bandit horseman pursues the brothers, his lance speeding closer and closer behind them. They are running flat out, and it is too late to dodge the summer-lending soldier who now stands in their way, his bow drawn, ready to fire.
Dive!
He screams at the brothers, and instinctively they obey his bold command. Almost simultaneously, the soldier releases the bowstring. The bandit is barely feet away when the steel-tipped arrow penetrates his visor and erupts from the rear of his helmet like a skewer through an apple. The charging horse crashes to the ground, throwing its dead rider at the brothers' side. Landa opens his mouth to shout his thanks, but before he can speak, the soldier turns and hurries away to the barricade. We are given two options here. If we wish to follow him, we turn to 59. If we wish to continue towards the watchtower, we turn to 310. So the watchtower is where the guy with the riddle was before, right? The guy that was rhyming and crying.
Yeah, that's correct.
The Baron. But now we're given an option to follow the guard into the barricade. I think the battle is happening here, not in the watchtower. So I don't know if we should stay here.
I mean, there's a cavalry charge at the moment.
Towards the barricade.
Towards the barricade, so it might be better to try and defend the tower as the last stand.
But if the soldiers are in the barricade, or is it just this one that's run inside? I don't know. Because if the soldiers are in the barricade, we might be able to fend off the cavalry charge. I mean, it is a barricade. It's going to be hard for the cavalry to penetrate it.
Yeah, but there's a huge gaping hole from that firewall, so...
I don't know.
I mean, a cavalry charge with lancers...
So we were going to the watchtower because we seemed to think that the barricade was not fit for service?
Yeah, we turned and run from that guy. I think we should carry on running.
Towards the watchtower?
Yeah. Although saying that, I think Deval actually went to the barricade. He led the charge, so perhaps we should join Deval in battle.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Deval, that soldier that just saved us, than us. The odds are not looking good, but we can't abandon Deval and the soldier that just saved us, right?
Yeah, I know. We came to rescue Deval as well, or at least to find out what had happened to him and return him to the capital, so I guess we need to make sure he survives this battle.
Let's follow the soldier! We can't let him die now! Not after he saved us!
To Captain Deval. Let's follow him.
So we're turning to 59. We follow the soldier to the barricade.
One more point of endurance.
This might be our last stand here.
Captain Deval and his men are locked in mortal combat with the invading cavalry. They are outnumbered and hard-pressed by the merciless foe, who use their spike-shod horses to kick and trample their opponents underfoot. The brothers reach the barricade to see yet another wave of the enemy approaching. Armoured handlers with packs of warhounds spread out in front of a line of spear-armed infantry. 50 yards from the barricade, the armoured handlers stop and kneel to let loose the dogs of war. We need to pick a number from the random number table. You know the drill by now. We both roll. If it's within the same bracket, we proceed. If not, the higher decides. This time 0 is curiously low, so I'll go first this time. That's a 7 for me.
And a 5 for me. We are in the same bracket, so we are turning to section 260.
And we both get another point of endurance. Torrin is back to full health. Lander is at 33 out of 35.
The warhounds spread out and stream towards the barricade, their eyes aflame with evil intent. A group of 5 snarling dogs tear through the wall of sacks and casks and engulf the soldiers around the brothers. Lashing out, Lander is able to dispatch 2 of the loathsome dogs with one swipe. But in the heat of battle, the brothers fail to notice the warhounds that are diving towards their backs. They pitch them forward into the collapsed barricade. Before they can free themselves, the warhounds have sunk their fangs into the brothers' legs. We are now fighting Vasagonian warhounds. Their combat skill is of 18 and their endurance doubled to 60. But we need to fight them for 3 rounds. If we are still alive after 3 rounds of combat, or if we win in the first 3 rounds, we turn to section 311.
Alright, so we're just going to quickly calculate our combat ratios.
I think Landa should go first this time.
Alright, the combat ratios are a +3 for Torin and a +4 for Lander. Here we go. Not too bad.
Not a bad start, no.
Yeah, there's a 6, which on a +4 is 10 points of damage in exchange for 2. With a quick sidestep, Lander brings his Summersford down, the blade slicing through the dog's hide as it snaps, catching Lander's ankle as its maws pierce through his boot, inflicting those 2 points of damage. The doggies are down to 50, and Lander is down to 31. Over to Torin.
Let's see if I can roll a bit higher. Oh no.
Oh no,
I rolled a 3.
that's not good.
With a fierce snarl, one of the warhounds attacks Toring, sinking his fangs into Toring's forearm, dealing Toring with 3 endurance points of damage. But Toring quickly retaliates with his blade, making a swift cut that sends the beast crashing to the ground. He deals 7 endurance points of damage. The doggies are now down to 43 endurance points, and Toring down to 23. It's over to Landa.
That is round 1 of combat. We've got 2 more. Will we see off these hounds?
Not too bad again. Same roll as before, a 6 for Landa.
So yeah, that's a 10 and 2 again. With a snarl, the dog leaps for Lander's throat, but the Summersford intercepts, cutting the beast in midair with a single fluid motion, but not before its claws scratch at Lander's face for 2 points of damage. The hounds are down to 33, and Lander is down to 29.
Oh, another terrible roll. I think it's the same number
Wow.
from Torin, a 3. The hound's eyes now burn with savage fury as it leaps up in the air, clawing at Toring, which can only attempt to parry the beast's attack, find purchase, dealing Toring with 3 endurance points of damage. As the dog lands and gets ready to pounce again, a powerful swing of Toring's blade meets the warhound, the impact sending it sprawling, its snarl fading into a whimper. Torin deals 7 endurance points of damage. The doggies now are down to 26 endurance points. Torin down to 20. That's the second round of combat. We have 1 more to either kill them or survive.
That's the end of round 2. We're into the third and final round. Will we see off the warhounds, or will we need to progress anyway and see what happens?
Ooh, it's a goose egg!
Ooh, big old goose egg. I think it's done. Maybe not, because you don't double your attacks anymore.
No, but I do deal 16 points of damage here.
Ooh.
So I'm leaving him on a platter here for Torin, I think. You can roll a goose egg too.
Let's hope.
The warhound lunges low, but the Summersford is faster, slicing through its throat in a single precise motion, leaving the creature gasping for air. Lander has dealt 16 points of damage here, in exchange for nil. The hounds are now down to just 10 points of endurance, as it's over to Torin in the final round of this combat.
Okay, let's go for a goose egg. Goose eggs all round, come on. Oh, not quite the goose egg we were after. It's a 7. Let's see if that's enough to
That could
see
do
off.
it. That could do it. Fingers crossed.
With a ferocious snarl and a blood-curdling bark, the warhound lunges at Torin, sinking his teeth onto his side. Torin cries out in pain, but manages to recompose himself, driving his bone scimitar into the creature's heart, silencing the last of the warhounds forever.
Oh, we did it!
Yes, that was an 11 damage, as Torin took 1 endurance point of damage himself. I'm down to 19. The dogs are gone, dead. We did it in 3 rounds,
Exactly 3 rounds.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
and we turn to section 311. During the fight, 3 Samalendin soldiers come to the brothers' aid. The swords slice into the evil warhounds until both dogs stiffen and die. The brothers thankfully stagger to their feet and try to assess the situation as the battle rages all around them. Samalendin soldiers still man the barricade, forming in groups that hold firm where the wall does not. Spears and arrows arc through the sky, piercing metal, wood, and flesh. Men fall from their horses. Horses scream and bolt, and the dead and the wounded lie everywhere. The warhounds have been driven back upon the spears of their masters, who now advance behind a wall of shields. To the brothers' right, a bandit warrior is trying to jump his horse across the barricade, but the animal is wounded and near to death. It cannot make the jump. The rider is hurled forwards over the wall, falling close behind the brothers. And that is where we're going to finish this week's episode.
Ooh, what are we going to do with this bandit warrior?
We'll see what happens next week.
Oh, you're going to make us wait a whole week. But if you don't want to wait a whole week, you know what to do. Visit our website www.i2td.com and follow all the links there to our good stuff. Make sure you visit our social media pages and, of course, our Discord server. Pop by and say howdy ho. Whilst you're on our website, why not click on our Buy Me a Coffee page, where you can make a one-off donation and purchase us a potion, which in this game we're using as rerolls. It's an opportunity for you to be a part of the stories we tell by shaping the adventures we play.
If you cannot or wish not to donate, do not worry, you can still help us out by liking and following us everywhere. Also, maybe leave a review on your podcast player of choice and give us some stars. Tell your friends about us, tell your family about us, and spread the word of Into the Dungeon. Thank you very much. Anything you can do helps us out tremendously.
That it does. And now, we're on to the end of the episode club.
The last one standing.
Here we give you a password where you use it in a comment of your liking. It proves to us that you are the Guido Masvrada, the last one standing that has the most endurance points and has made it all the way through to the end of the episode. Don't forget to comment your entry in the appropriate Discord channel entitled The Last One Standing. I'm coming over to you again this week, Big Al. Have you got a password for us?
That I do. Small Nick, that I do.
What do you mean, small neck?
You called me Big Al. I called you Small Nick. I don't know. Okay, sorry. That I do, Big Nick. That I do. The password for this week is doggy style.
Oh dear.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Doggy style.
This has got nothing to do with Big Al or Little Nick or Big Nick. This is all to do with the warhounds that have been harassing us.
What the hell are you implying now? Yeah, let's move on.
Swiftly
the dogs.
moving on.
Yeah, swiftly moving on. The dogs obviously harassed us doggy style, so that's where the password comes from. So anyway, you know what to do. We look forward to reading all your comments. And that's it for us this week.
Yeah, we hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have, and that you hang around and tune in next week as we delve into the dungeon.
Let's follow the soldier. We can't let him die now. Not after he saved us.
With a snarl, this dog leaps for Flanders' throat.
Flanders.
Flanders. Oakley dokley.